ثم أما بعد to proceed. Inshallah, we'll continue with Kitab al-Nikah, the book of marriage from Al-Umda by Imam Ibn Qudama. May Allah bestow mercy on him, rahimahullah. And as we said, we will not cover the book like the way we cover the book of Al-Ibadat or the section of Al-Ibadat, Fiqh of Worship, book of Salah and Siyam and fasting and Hajj and funerals, and before that Tahara and so on, because the amount of details here may not be needed by each and every one of us as they are needed in the area of Ibadat. Every one of us needs to pray and needs to pray right and needs to fast right and so on and so forth. But in terms of the laws of marriage and the laws of family laws in general, there is some amount of knowledge that is needed by each and every one of us. The rest of the details may not be necessary. So we will cover more of the practical points, inshallah. Last time we were talking about al-khitbah, or engagement, and we did talk about several issues pertaining to engagement, and we also did talk about premarital patience. How you patient yourself before you get married, and in a way that will protect your chastity and that will help you cope with that stage. And we said that there are alternatives that Islam provides in terms of premarital relations or premarital the premarital stage where you're getting ready to get married. And we talked about the various stages, the stage before the khitbah or engagement, the stage between engagement and the contract, which is al-aqd, the stage between the contract, which is al-aqd, and al-bina, which is the consummation. Now, inshallah, we will address a different issue, and the issue that we will address today still pertains to al-khitbah or engagement, but it pertains to when is khitbah permissible. And the Prophet ﷺ says, لا يخطب بعضكم لا يخطب أحدكم على خطبة أخيه لا يخطب أحدكم على خطبة أخيه. Imam al-Qudama here says ولا يخطب الرجل على خطبة أخيه إلا أن لا يسكن إليه, which means a man shall not propose to a woman marriage after his brother had proposed marriage, except if his brother had not been accepted, if his brother had not been accepted. Now, there are exceptions when a woman may receive more than one marriage proposal at the same time. One of those exceptions is if she rejected the proposal, or her guardian rejected the first proposal. And if she rejected, or her guardian rejected the first proposal, it doesn't exist. There is no khitbah, there is no engagement. So everyone is allowed to propose. The second one is in the case where people are unaware that she did or did not accept the proposal. People are not aware of the proposal in the first place. People are not aware that someone proposed to her. And many of the scholars consider the hadith in which several men proposed to one particular woman, Usama and Abu Jahm and Muawiyah, all proposed to one particular woman, and the Prophet ﷺ advised her to marry Usama. They say that this happened without awareness, or without awareness on the part of those Sahaba that someone else proposed to that woman, and that could very well happen. Where someone proposes to a woman, you don't know if someone proposed or not, and then you go and propose, and so on. In this case, it will be acceptable. In this case, it is up to the woman to choose. She does not have to choose the first one. She doesn't have to choose the first one. And it is also important here, and we will talk about this in more detail when we talk about the kafa'a or suitability, compatibility between the men and women. When we hear the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ إِلَّا تَفْعَلُوا تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. When someone whose deen, whose piety and manners are acceptable to you, or you are pleased with his deen and manners, proposes to you, then marry him. If you do not, that address is to the women and to the guardians. If you do not, then it will be trials on earth and great corruption. And that does not mean that the woman has to accept the first one who comes through the door with good deen and manners. If she doesn't like how he looks, she doesn't have to accept him. And if she has any legitimate, justifiable reasons, the guardian has legitimate, justifiable reasons to not want to marry him, she doesn't have to marry him. Well, let's say some woman who is 16 and a man who is 86, that's halal to marry her. Certainly halal. But does she have to marry him because he is religious and has good manners? No, she doesn't have to marry him. Let's say a woman who finished her PhD and a man who is illiterate proposed to marry her. Does she have to marry him because he is religious and well-mannered? She doesn't have to marry him. No, she doesn't have to marry him. The scholars talk about a list of compatibilities, and those compatibilities should not be all ignored and tossed away because of superficial understanding of the text of Revelation, because those scholars were more aware of the text than we are. Therefore, the text does not mean this, and the Prophet ﷺ did tell, when Fatima came and she said to the Prophet ﷺ, this man proposed and this man proposed and this man proposed, he said to her about one of them, أَمَّا مُعَاوِيَةَ فَفَقِيرٌ لَا مَالَ لَهُ. As for Muawiyah, he is poor, he doesn't have any money, he doesn't have any assets or money. Then he told her that maybe it will suit you to marry someone who is a little bit wealthier, or more well off. So that was an indication, and many indications. Many indications. When the Prophet ﷺ says, "Idhhab fanzur ilayha," go and look at her, that also applies to the woman, because فَإِنَّهُ أَحْرَى أَنْ يُؤْدَمَ بَيْنَكُمَا, because it is more likely that you will have longevity, that your marriage will have longevity if you look at her. The same applies to the woman. If she looks at the man and she thinks that he's acceptable, he looks okay, then that is more likely to have longevity in the marriage. You see, Fatima, when she came to the Prophet ﷺ and she complained to him about Thabit ibn Qais, and she said to him what? When she wanted khula, when she wanted separation, إِنِّي لَا أَعِيبُ عَلَى ثَابِتْ خُلُقٍ فِي خُلُقٍ وَلَا دِينٍ. I do not discredit Thabit's manner